Let's go together to Isaiah chapter 9, starting with verse 6. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Just blessing God for his son being born and really focusing on what that means to us. Okay? Isaiah chapter 9, verse 6. For unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given. And as we talk in this season of giving, what a gift that God gave his son, the very first, one of the very first, and the ultimate gifts around the holiday times. For unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given, and the government of the kingdom, the government will be upon his shoulder, and his name will be called Wonderful, Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. Let me ask you this. His names were already identified, but we've experienced that. How many of y'all have experienced a wonder of God in your life? How many times have you looked at something and been totally awestruck at the move in the hand of God in your life? I thank you, God, that you have been wonderful, full of wonder for me. How many times have I looked at God as my counselor, the one who gives me the only source of advice that I can lean on, the one who I can count on at all times? How many times has he been that counselor for me? How many times has he been that for you? How about a mighty God? Mighty God, strong, strong. How many times has God been your strong tower, your refuge, your hiding place, your sword and your shield? How many times has he been that for you? Because he's been that for me. I thank you, God. When I looked at the word mighty in this particular verse, it also references hero type power. How many times has God swooped in and saved me? Thank you, Lord, for being a mighty God. Everlasting Father. You know, the word declares that we, being evil, will provide a good gift to our son. How much more so would God do? As a Father who is everlasting and gives us provision after provision after provision, everlasting, over and over again. And then as the Prince of Peace, the thing that really struck me, they didn't call Jesus the King of Peace. A king is somebody who already has authority the moment they step on the scene. A prince is somebody that has to wait on their daddy. He is the Prince of Peace. He was brought here to give us peace, but he did so at his Father's command. He did so when God said it was timing. Amen. That's because he was the prince sitting underneath the king. Thank you, God. So we have this wonderful gift of this child being born that was brought into us to be all these things, these multiple facets of what we need in our life. And that's in verse 6. Let's go back a little bit to verse 3. This will tell us even more so the benefits of accepting this son, this wonderful Prince of Peace that came to us. Isaiah 9, verse 3. You have multiplied the nation and increased its joy. God sent his son to increase our joy. Great shall be the peace of us, says God. Going back to verse 3, they rejoice before you according to the joy of the harvest. People rejoice at the coming of God according to the joy of the harvest. At this time, the harvest obviously is when they are going back to the fields and reaping everything that they've sown, that they are going to store up to live off of. Let me hear somebody say they rejoice like it was payday. It was payday. We shall rejoice according to the joy of the harvest. Thank you, Lord. As men rejoice when they divide the spoil. For you have broken the yoke of his burden. Listen, God didn't just send Jesus to take and remove our yoke. If he did that, we have the option to pick it back up. He broke it. He broke it. A yoke is that, the one divider that goes across both shoulders to balance the load. But he broke it in half, rendering it unusable. We don't need to pick it up. We don't need to touch it. That yoke has been broken for us. And so for you have broken the yoke of his burden and the staff of his shoulder. God said we don't even need a staff to lean on. We don't even need a staff to lean on because we've got him, the ultimate shepherd. The rod of our oppressor has also been broken as in the day of Midian. Okay, so our oppressor A rod is used in shepherding to goad. It's used to point you. It's used to poke you. How many times has the enemy tried to point you and poke you in a direction? Point you in the way of bitterness. Point you in the way of unforgiveness. Point you in the way of fear. Point you in the way of worry. Point you in the way of doubt. Point you in the way of lack. How many times has your oppressor tried to use that rod to point you? God said it's been broken. He said it's been broken. He broke the rod of the oppressor. As in the day of Midian. And that was when Gideon was in battle with the Midianites and the Amalekites. And they were so outnumbered, they couldn't even count the number of soldiers that they were outnumbered by. And Gideon, according to the word of the Lord, instructed his 300 soldiers to use a pitcher, a rod, was a rod the other thing? And a trumpet. A pitcher, like pouring something out. A rod and a trumpet. And they are against valiant warriors, outnumbered, I'm going to imagine multitudes and thousands. And they fled. Their opponents fled. They fled because of the instruction that Gideon followed from the Lord. But what I'm drawing attention to here is it was a pitcher, a trumpet, and a rod. Help me. How many times has God helped you be victorious, taking something out of nothing? Making something out of nothing. They took absolutely nothing in terms of war instruments of warfare. They didn't have swords. They didn't have the big balls with the chain. They had a pitcher, a trumpet, the rod, but most importantly, they had the word and the instruction of the Lord. They followed that, and they were victorious. Amen. So, God has given us those things. He has broken our oppressor just as he did in that day. Just as he did back then. Amen. So, we're going to skip now. So, we talked about Jesus coming for us, the ultimate gift, and the benefits, the privileges of sitting underneath his reign. But going forward and looking at verse 7, so we're going to talk not only about how we benefit of God and how we benefit of Jesus coming, but what is that to be? What does that mean going forward? What impact does that have for us going forward? Verse 7 says, of the increase of his government and peace, there will be no end. Well, of course, we know now from our learnings that his government is, of course, the kingdom design, the way God originally intended for things to be. His precepts, his principles, his promises. And if we look at the increase of his government, it comes with a peace. And the peace here is shalom. And that's not just, peace in terms of having a settling in your spirit. Shalom is all encompassing. Shalom talks about physical well-being. It talks about provision. And it also talks about, the word actually says, total cessation of your enemy. That means you don't have an enemy. Your enemy has been totally blotted out. Been totally blotted out. And all that comes with his peace and the increase of his government. But there's a condition on this. There's a condition. He said, of the increase of his government, there will be no end. That means we've got work to do. That means if we're going to enjoy these privileges of being a part of this kingdom, we've got a responsibility to share the goodness. We've got a responsibility to talk about not only Jesus coming so many thousands of years ago, but we've got the responsibility to talk about how that can break yokes for folks. And we've got to help people understand how their freedom comes as a result of accepting him, so that the kingdom can in fact increase. And he says there will be no end to that. And we all know from prior teachings that until the kingdom has been preached to every end of the earth, the end will come. But once it has been, the end will come. So follow me. We have a responsibility to preach the word to every aspect, every corner, every nook and cranny. And then the end will come. There will be no end to his increase. Because the more we teach it, the more people will fall in. The more people fall in, the more we reach every nook and cranny. The more we reach every nook and cranny, he comes back. There is no end. When he comes back, his increase of his government will be fulfilled. Praise God for the birth of his son. Amen.